When a lot of people think of footballers, they tend to think of flash cars, supermodel partners, and 5-star holidays to Dubai, Mykonos, or the Maldives. But it's not all plain sailing for professional footballers. Drop below the Premier League and certainly the Championship and equivalent levels overseas, and you start to find lots of footballers with much more modest salaries, despite being in industries with notoriously short careers, which have a nasty habit of cutting a youngster's education short, and where only an extremely small percentage of youth team players ever even turn professional. Even at the elite level, whilst the money may be good, spectacular in some instances, it is by no means a permanent ticket to success. As I covered in this video around a year ago, roughly 40% of professional footballers, including those who played right at the highest level, are one day declared bankrupt for a variety of different reasons. I would recommend that video if you haven't already seen it, but nonetheless, I am simply laying the ground in this manner because it is undeniable that, at the elite level, footballers earn a fortune. Therefore, in today's video, when I talk about players being underpaid, that being in inverted commas there, I am referring solely to the fact that I think they are underpaid in relation to their peers and to market standards. If Lionel Messi earned £5,000 a week, that works out at over £250,000 a year, which is an excellent salary. But given the fact that Mark Noble earns 10 times that amount, you would be surprised if Messi's agent didn't ask his theoretical employers in this case for just a little bit more. I make that clarification because this is a video that I make pretty much once a season, always filled with fresh faces. And every time, someone points out that most of the players still earn lots of money. And that is true. I am not setting up GoFundMe pages for any of them, or suggesting that you drop warm meals round their houses over the weekend. I am merely noting that, by footballing standards, in relation to their talent and performances, I think they could earn a lot more. Hopefully that is all clear enough, and I won't get too many of those comments again this year, so without further ado, here are 7 tragically underpaid and brutally mistreated footballers who deserve our love and support. Just kidding, but you get the idea. Mikhail Oyazabal, £37,000 a week. Getting us started is a man who has been among the best players in La Liga for a number of seasons now, which makes his meagre salary all the more surprising. Mikhail Oyazabal is only 24 years old, so I could understand if he was midway through a breakout campaign why his wage might not yet have caught up with his talents. But in reality, he is already on the verge of hitting double figures for goals for the 5th successive season. A really smart and hard-working forward, Oyazabal isn't lightning quick, but he has fantastic movement, he's brilliant on the ball, and he's comfortable playing on the left, right, or through the middle, in behind a centre forward. Real Sociedad's vice-captain, even at the age of 24, and de facto playing captain with Edouard Mendy out injured, Oyazabal was recently sidelined for a month himself after he tore his hamstring. In the 8 La Liga games that Oyazabal has started this season, he has scored 6 goals and made 1 assist, with Villarreal currently right in the mix when it comes to the La Liga title race, with Oyazabal playing the role of the club's star man, certainly in an attacking capacity. By comparison, the best paid forward for La Real's title rivals Real Madrid is Gareth Bale, on a reported £528,000 a week. Oyazabal has certainly done a lot more than Bale has in recent seasons, yet the deal that he signed with La Real in 2018, which will run until 2024, is not even worth a tenth of that. There are several players in the Championship, and even one in the Segunda Division, who are believed to out-earn Oyazabal, and if he were to leave Real Sociedad, having been heavily tipped with moves to both Manchester City and FC Barcelona, I suspect he would, at the very least, treble his earnings overnight. Edouard Mendy, £50,000 a week. It is not easy to find an underpaid Premier League player. The top flight of English football is the highest paying league in world football, with even the average wage of a Premier League player now working out at over £60,000 a week. You might think then that arguably the best goalkeeper in the division, and I think that he has earned that title, at least in the context solely of the early parts of this season, would far out-earn that average. After all, first-choice goalkeepers in the Premier League are very well remunerated. David De Gea, Manchester United's number one, who has been far from faultless in recent years, is reported to be the second highest earner in the entire division, with a weekly wage said to be worth £375,000 a week before bonuses. At just £50,000 a week, and yes, I did say just in this context, Edouard Mendy is reported to be among the poorest paid first-choice goalkeepers in the entire division. And just to add insult to injury, the Senegalese international isn't even the best paid goalkeeper at Chelsea. Far from it, in fact. Kepa Arrizabalaga is said to earn almost 3 times as much as Mendy, despite having wrists made out of poppadoms and being best known for refusing to be substituted in a game which he went on to lose a penalty shootout. No doubt Edouard Mendy's very sudden rise, having been playing second-tier football just 3 years ago, and almost having given up on the game just a couple of years before that, is a huge factor in him earning less than the likes of Tom Heaton and Loris Karius. Nonetheless, aged 29 and playing the best football of his life right now, one imagines Mendy's next contract will be blockbuster. And on current form, he certainly deserves it. Renato Augusto, £2,645 a week. By far the poorest paid player in this seven, Renato Augusto reportedly doesn't earn much more than the average Sky Bet League 2 player, which really is astonishing. I didn't really rank this seven on anything in particular, but a really compelling case could be made that Augusto is the most underpaid player in all of world football. I must admit, the first few times that I saw him at Bayer Leverkusen, which must have been over a decade ago now, I thought that he looked a little bit ordinary at times. But the more you watch the Brazilian, the better you appreciate his talents. A willing runner with marvellous technique, Augusto won 32 caps for Brazil, including almost 20 after moving to China, which is a mark of his talent. Oscar, by comparison, didn't win a single cap after heading to the Chinese Super League. Augusto left China in July 2021 as the league went into meltdown, returning to Brazil and returning to Corinthians. Augusto reportedly earned £145,000 a week in China, so it might be fair to assume that he is not strapped for cash, but his supposed sub £3,000 a week salary at Corinthians is still pretty shocking. A star man back in Brazil, there is even talk of a possible recall from Chiche to the Brazil squad for the 33-year-old. And you could certainly make a case that Augusto is a better midfielder than, say, Fred, who is said to earn 45 times as much as him. I've tried to make some interesting comparisons with each of these seven, but they are just too wild in the case of Renato Augusto to really wrap your head around. There are literal non-league players in England who earn more than him. Robin Gosens, £24,000 a week. Just about everyone who plays for Atalanta is underpaid in relation to their peers, by virtue of the brilliant way in which that club is run, their tight financial restraints, and the outstanding management of Gianpiero Gasperini. There were at least 3 or 4 Atalanta stars who made my shortlist, but ultimately, Robin Gosens was always the favourite to feature. A German international since 2020, Gosens enjoyed a superb 2019-20 season in Serie A, and he has just gone from strength to strength ever since. His form was so good going into Euro 2020 that he convinced Joachim Löw to play with wing-backs, which is where Gosens plays for Atalanta, and therefore to shift Joshua Kimmich from holding midfield into the right wing-back position. He has missed Germany's most recent set of internationals under new boss Hansi Flick due to a hamstring injury, one which ruled him out at the end of September, and he is still yet to return. It is a huge blow, particularly for Atalanta, who sorely misses energy, athleticism and attacking intent down their left flank. Last season, Gosens made an incredible combined total of 20 goals and assists from left wing-back, following 18 goal contributions the season before that. That is a kind of output that many forwards would be proud of, so to do it from wing-back, you might imagine that Gosens is being paid an absolute fortune. In reality, his salary seems pretty meagre compared to just about any comparative player of his calibre. Leonardo Spinazzola reportedly earns 3.8 times as much as him, Luca Digne over 5 times as much, and Ben Chilwell almost 8 times as much. It's just not fair, is it? Won't someone think of his children? Dusan Vlahovic, £24,000 a week. Among the hottest properties in world football at this moment in time, Dusan Vlahovic is reported to be a transfer target of Borussia Dortmund, Tottenham Hotspur, Arsenal, West Ham and Newcastle United among others, valued at £70 million, which also happens to be his release clause, by Fiorentina. However, at the risk of offending supporters of the clubs that I just mentioned, the way Vlahovic is playing at this moment in time, having just bagged yet another brace against AC Milan, dare I say, he may be setting his sights even higher than any of them when he moves on from the city of Florence. Wherever he goes next, Vlahovic will, at the very least, quadruple his income overnight. Our second successive Serie A star, who is reported to earn just over £24,000 a week, Vlahovic's salary really is ridiculously low in relation to the way in which he is currently performing, having bagged 12 goals in 14 games so far this season, having only hit 20 plus goals for the first time in his career last season. Vlahovic is still only 21 years old, and his sudden recent rise at club and international level makes his salary a little bit more explicable. An excellent all-round centre-forward, Vlahovic's size at 6'3" can sometimes lead to misconceptions about his game, but he is deceptively quick and good on the ball. Whilst Luka Jovic's failure at Real Madrid may have made some teams somewhat hesitant about signing free-scoring Serbians, Vlahovic looks to be the real deal, and I would be quite frankly amazed if he was still at Fiorentina next season. Bukayo Saka, £30,000 a week. Well, I said that underpaid footballers are a rare find in the Premier League, but I still managed to find a couple. Joining Edouard Mendy is another player who is a key man for a London club, and that is Bukayo Saka. Still routinely underrated by a lot of non-Arsenal fans, I'm not quite sure what Bukayo Saka has to do at this stage for some people to sit up and take note of his talents. He won Arsenal's Player of the Season award last season, at the age of 19, and he managed to find a way into England's Euro 2020 starting 11 from the final group game all the way through to the final of the tournament, despite having a plethora of attacking talent for competition. Outstanding on either flank, Saka is quick, creative, and has bags of flair. But he's also industrious, disciplined, and superb at adapting to play in different systems and do whatever job his manager asks of him. His tactical discipline and importance to Arsenal make it easy to forget just how young Saka still is. And no doubt, his age is a key contributing factor to his relatively modest wage. Saka signed his current contract with Arsenal in July 2020 as the Gunners sought to tie him down with the youngster very clearly on the ascent, though not yet a bona fide superstar. Now he is certainly a star, and the £30,000 a week he is reported to earn, even with some generous appearance and goal fees thrown in, looks a long way short of just about anyone who is comparable to him in terms of importance to a top 6 or top 8 team in the Premier League. Timo Werner, for example, reportedly earns almost 8 times as much as him. Meanwhile, even his much less effective and less frequently played Arsenal teammate Nicola Pepe earns almost 5 times as much as him. Not only is Saka brilliant, but he also reportedly played a key role in bringing Aaron Ramsdale to the Emirates over the summer, and given Ramsdale's performances this season, Saka is thoroughly deserving of a significant pay rise as both a player and agent. Luis Diaz, £25,000 a week. I said that this 7 was in no particular order, I just picked what I felt were 7 really strong and perhaps interesting inclusions from a much longer shortlist. And I also said that Renato Augusto's lowly wage means that he is probably the most underpaid player in world football if we attempted to use any kind of scientific method. Yet, somehow, it just seemed right to put Luis Diaz on top. There were a lot of Portuguese Primeira Liga players on my shortlist, including 2 from Sporting, who would almost certainly make a part 2 of this video if I were to make one, but Diaz was the outstanding candidate. Not just the most underpaid player in the Portuguese game, but the best full stop, Luis Diaz's star has risen gradually ever since he signed for Porto from Atletico Junior in 2019. At the age of 24, Diaz is already one of the most exciting, and now one of the most lethal wide men in the European game. Lightning quick, remarkably skillful and, so far this season at least, absolutely devastating in the final third, DIAZ is among the most electric players in world football with a ball at his feet. This season, he has bagged 11 goals and 2 assists in 17 games, adding an element of ruthlessness and polish to his game. His current contract with Porto is the same one that he signed when he joined the club back in 2019, hence why it, reportedly, barely puts him among the top 10 earners at the club. To put that in some context, DIAZ reportedly earns less than Tom Ince, who spent last season on loan at Luton Town in the Championship. That is unlikely to remain the case for long, however, as with most players in this 7, given the fact that DIAZ is currently said to be one of Liverpool and Chelsea's primary transfer targets, likely to cost somewhere in the region of €80 million. When he makes that move, DIAZ's salary is likely to be closer to if you just went ahead and added a naught to what he earns now than it would be to his current weekly wage. So that is it for today's video, but thank you all very much as ever for watching. I won't do any honourable mentions just in case this video absolutely knocks it out the park and there is enormous demand for a part 2. But thank you all as ever, as I say, for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on for the most underpaid YouTuber in the world, and that is, of course, HITC Sevens. You can also find me on social media, on Twitter or Instagram via the username @HITC Sevens on both, should you wish to do so.